I would argue that we're way, way worse off than a recession here right now. Oh, the economic news that they're telling us is clear on that. The fact that people are suffering and they continue to suffer moving forward here, and they continue to borrow beyond their eyeballs, dancing their way into destitution is what I've been saying recently here. They're enjoying their last hurrah. And until they go down into that lower rung of society and become slaves to the system. That's what it is. Yeah, sure. Yield curve is inverted. It's extremely inverted at this point here, but that doesn't tell me, or I don't think anyone that follows my work or who understands what's happening, anything. We realize that the economy globally is over. It's in free fall. It's not going to stop. And every mechanism you can dream about and things you can't even think about yet are going to be thrown at people in this new economic model. The new economic model is going from crisis to crisis to crisis so they can pull more cash out of the future, whether it means, allowing central banks to continue to buy all the debt for which they can do anything they want. They have no oversight here. Whatever it might be, another disease process or another variant, they got to throw cash at that. Expanding wars, they got to throw cash at that. Now we have this bill that's going through the Senate to subsidize the semiconductor industry here, which is essentially a backdoor bailout. I think people should understand that as well. And every other mechanism possible to continue to pull cash from the future. What people don't know, what the biggest secret is, it's in everyone's face, is that that's the system. It demands that debt be fueled, added to the current situation exponentially in order to function. Without doing that, it's over. The system demands that debt be created every day by every mechanism possible, henceforth crisis to crisis to crisis and everything else they can come up with.
That was Greg Mannarino, one of the most outspoken and successful traders out there. If he is correct, then all is going up in flames. Stocks will crash, bond markets will collapse, currency exchanges will be broken, commodity prices will make basic necessities inaccessible to people. How then can we prepare for such a scenario? There are some who think that there are ways of staying afloat when the global economy sinks. The first hedge, if we can call it that, against such a catastrophic outcome is gold. The precious metal has acted as a shield against economic downfall since ancient times. Rulers, monarchs, and wealthy families have used gold as a method of storing and preserving wealth and, when worst came to worst, of exchanging goods. Close to our times, gold remains seen as a shield against economic and financial chaos. For example, despite the fact that we have a quasi-credit fiat monetary system, in which money is made up out of thin air and represent credit on the central bank's balance sheets, gold is still seen as a reserve. The latest data from the World Gold Council shows that central banks, especially in developing countries, continue to bolster their gold reserves. This has always been a sign of anticipating some sort of hardship. In fact, central banks have known this for years. Only in late 2010 did central banks around the world sell, on a net basis, gold. All the quarters since then were net buying of the precious metal. Rising economic and political risks associated with other reserve assets and structural changes in the international monetary system were cited as the top 3 reasons for holding gold in a 2019 central bank survey. However, gold has its drawbacks. For most people who have no vault of storing gold, the physical quality of gold remains an impediment. Gold is not easily transported either, and in times of crisis, you only need to take with you necessities. Carrying gold bars through some sort of social unrest or worse, military conflict is not feasible. There is an alternative, some claim, the digital gold. And no, I am not talking about buying gold through ETFs. Rather, here we are referring to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular.
It has proven itself something like 10, 11 years ago. Imagine the programming of this, and you throw it out, and that's the idea. It has not been hacked. It has operated. It is built. It has come an amazing way over that 11 years to be probably the most excited topic among a lot of people, and has been used and is now has obtained the status of having imputed value. At the same time, it is one of those assets that is an alternative money. I think we're entering an era where there's going to be a competition of monies.
Ray Dalio has studied the long and short-term debt cycles and the changes of monetary systems for the past few hundred years, going back to ancient times. His views on Bitcoin are therefore informed in part by the inevitability of economic decline and the monetary system changes that come with it. Just last year, the giant asset management firm Robeco wrote a report called Bitcoin as Digital Gold. The asset manager stated that, as digital gold, Bitcoin has monetary value. In our view, the discussion about Bitcoin's lack of intrinsic value is mostly irrelevant. As with diamonds, art, stamps, gold, and the US dollar, Bitcoin does not provide cash flows. Yet all these asset classes have monetary value, and most of them are considered to be a store of value. Some, however, are not convinced that cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are ready to play any meaningful role in the economy, let alone to be used as some sort of hedge against total instability. Charles Munger, Warren Buffett's long-term business partner, has called Bitcoin stupid and immoral.
Bitcoin is worthless artificial gold, which, if it succeeded, would facilitate a lot of illicit activity. Now, that is not something I think the world needs. And the fact that it's clever computer science doesn't mean that it should be widely used and that respectable people should encourage other people to speculate in it. Bitcoin reminds me of Oscar Wilde's definition of fox hunting, the pursuit of the uneatable by the unspeakable.
Skepticism for new things is not in itself novel, and Bitcoin has the potential to revolutionize the monetary system itself. In fact, most, if not all, of the world's central banks have taken its challenge seriously and are designing their own digital versions, called central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Therefore, perhaps Bitcoin is not such a threat to economic stability as Munger suggested, and is more akin to Dalio's view of another form of money. If this will be the case, then Bitcoin may perhaps be the real life vest for a sinking ship of a global economy. After going through the history of money and economies, through the entire booms and busts and failures of monetary systems, Michael Saylor, one of the biggest investors in Bitcoin, said this about the cryptocurrency's role in today's world.
Along comes Satoshi, and we've got the white paper, and January 3rd, 2009, we launched this little monetary virus or this idea virus, and it kind of burns very, very low level for a while, and people aren't sure of it. It's a gimmicky thing, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and waiting for, well, why would you need it? And you had to be a visionary to kind of need it or get it. If you lived in Argentina and your currency collapsed, and you remember the currency collapsing, or if you lived in North Korea, or if you lived in Africa and your currency collapsed and you watched your family get wiped out, then maybe you get it. But that wasn't the mainstream, right? The Western world is not run by people that lost their family's life savings in Africa or South America. So it was an interesting idea, but it was a fringe idea until 2020. And in 2020, the monetary inflation rate tripled in the US. And what we saw was, in the world's best economies, you're losing 15 to 20% of your economic value in the currency every year. In the second tier economies, you're losing 30% or more. Like the Japanese yen is down 24% against the dollar in the last 12 months, right? And in the tertiary economies, you're losing 50, 60, 70% of the value in the currency. And that's where you get a Sri Lanka, where literally the entire government collapses, or what you're seeing going on in Africa and Zimbabwe right now, or famously in Lebanon, where people have been breaking into banks, taking people hostage to get their own money back. Right, the bank robbers are robbing banks, and their demand is, give me my own money back, because the government stole the money and the banks froze it, devalued it, and they're going to give it back to you over the next 17 years, devaluing it 20% a year while they trickle it out to you.
Against this, Saylor says Bitcoin is an alternative. What do you think? Let us know in the comments section below. For more content like this, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.